welcome back to a family business podcast. There's been some new kind of revelations coming out of the world of National Association of Realtors and where all of the items on the backside that not everyone is hearing right now kind of coming to the forefront. So if we all remember in what we've talked about in numerous episodes about one of the largest settlements and litigations in the real estate industry took place back in the summer of 2024. And that broke down, and we've gone over it, and we'll talk a little bit more about today. But why we're bringing this back up is that it's not been officially settled yet. And there are some projections that there might be a settlement coming here, or an official judgment ruling here in the summer. So let's dive in a little bit.
There's also rumors that it might be overturned.
And that's what we need to dive into today and discuss. Is that something that would benefit consumers, benefit the industry, or the flip side? So we just stay with what we are currently working with and living with. So with that being said, let's just talk a little bit about, again, recap what happened with this settlement and what the industry currently looks like.
Okay. So in 2024, in August was when the national law was implemented. But
what did the suit allow, or what did the suit allege that has not been a final awarded and they're discussing overturning?
I'll let you kind of go into that, Andrea, because
Why?
Andrea is the expert on this.
No, I don't want to.
Oh, all right.
So just going, all right, I'll take this over. So a couple of things that were, why this issue was originally brought up in the beginning was sellers weren't sure how the listing agent and the buyer's agent was getting paid on numerous different avenues and issues that were brought up in these cases that were brought forth to the news and to the courts. So first of all, as I mentioned, the commission or percentage that was being given to the listing agent wasn't clarified or wasn't transparent in the consumer's eyes on who's getting paid what. And so that was kind of the big first issue. And then the avenues that was presented as well. So if we take a step back before this settlement took place, we would have the buyer's agent commission marketed in the MLS.
It was commingled. Yes. So like the two were one. The buyer and the seller commission were one. I don't think there was, and correct me if I'm wrong, PC, I don't think there was as much confusion about what the seller was or the listing agent was getting paid from the seller, because that was all disclosed in the listing contract. What the lawsuit alleged is the non-transparency on how the buyer's agent was getting paid, because buyer's agents used to run around town saying that their services were free, when really they weren't free. Really, the seller was paying it. But at the end of the day, as we've all discussed in previous podcasts, the buyer is paying it all because they're the one writing the check to the seller.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but another part of the lawsuit was that we advertised the co-compensation in the MLS, so that was considered to be price fixing as well.
Yes, and so that was all brought to the forefront, and then eventually the National Association of Realtors settled and changed the way that was portrayed now. So now, sitting here present day, a listing agent and their seller agree to their service fee. And then it's determined and decoupled, as we like to use the word, if they're going to set a fee for any buyer's agents or if they're going to negotiate that potentially when an offer comes in. So that was one of the changes. Also, we cannot market any compensation that's being offered to a buyer's agent in the MLS, as the consumer can't have access to that, which caused issues and potential the ideology of price.
Well, the consumer can have access to that. It's just that they want that to be coming from the seller to the consumer, not something that's being offered from the listing agent to the buyer's agent in a private place that is not visible to the consumer.
Correct. Yes. The broker to broker behind scenes communication is what
which
the
the
issue
scary
was.
part of that is even in our marketplace to this day. Oh, the popsicle's coming back, guys. It was scary.
I offered to buy you a microphone.
Well, you offered and didn't. So
would you like me to buy you one?
I would like you to have PT help you find me a microphone.
We have the perfect one.
No, we're not getting the one that you sent out. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. There's still in our marketplace companies that are just I want to use the phrase business as usual. Is that the best way to say it? Like when they're disclosed, they're just telling their clients, and we know this because people have told us this, they're telling their clients that that here's how it is, this is what we charge, and this is what we're going to pay the other brokerage, instead of communicating it to
these are your options.
Yeah, these are your options, and you're not required to. So that's a little scary.
Yeah, and going back to the conversation in terms of advertising the co-brokerage compensations, I think now that we've gone to a lot of them are not offering co-brokerage compensations, that I don't know that we ever go back, even if they do reverse the law. That I am all about transparency in every real estate transaction, and I'm not sure what would be wrong with that. So that's where I'm a little confused on why the agents were so upset with the law change, because there's nothing wrong with transparency.
Well, and that's the whole ideology behind today's topic, right? So with that being said, it really hasn't been in the news. It's almost been, the new way that we run our business, especially on the buyer side and communicating to that side of the transaction. But there's people that are, as Andrea mentioned, really not willing to change with the times. They're not happy with the settlement that the National Association of Realtors decided to go with. And since that is not final, the big topic today is, there's two parties, one that, are willing to...
Well, it's final. It's just that the judgment amount is not final.
Sure. Yes, the actual settlement amount has not been finalized. And so whether that opens up another door and people think that opening the litigation again to fight that is a potential option, or is it better just to continue on as normal and continue this reality that we're currently in, that seems to be, in my opinion, better for not only realtors but the consumers as well.
Yeah, I think that if this gets overturned and then there is where I just don't, it doesn't make any sense to me. I think that this has been better for the public, the people that are embracing it, the people that are doing exactly what the consumers and the public that brought this lawsuit to the forefront wanted. Because at the end of the day, if you're hiring an agent to buy a home, you should understand why you're hiring them and what you're paying them. If you're hiring an agent to sell your home, you should understand what they're providing for you and what you're paying them. I really don't think, and I think it's unfortunate that the way our industry operated like this for so long, because we just didn't know any better, but I really don't think one has anything to do with the other. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. And the problem is, and we've talked about this before, and it kind of goes back to our previous podcast about the return of the professional agent. The problem is that post-COVID or the COVID era, you had a lot of agents that got in the industry because they thought you just stuck a sign in the yard and you got an offer and you didn't have to have any skill, which was kind of true for a little while, right? Which is unfortunate because we had a lot of agents get in the business, didn't know what they were doing. And so they didn't have to provide any value. So they didn't have to explain how they got paid or where they're getting paid or why they were getting paid. Now you have agents that still, like we just talked about, are not embracing, or their brokerage is not embracing, and they're doing business as usual. They're not sitting down and doing a full buyer's consultation when a buyer reaches out to them. They're just showing up at a house. Maybe they're having them sign the required paperwork. Maybe they're not. We've learned. And then they're just, showing a house and trying to pick up the buyer without really explaining that they have a charge. I mean, it's like, let's just break this down for a second. We've done new construction for so long. PT, you've gotten into that now. It's no different than how annoyed do our clients when they're building a new house. They sit down with their builder, they determine a price, they come up with a contract, The builder explains, if there are overages, I'm going to, send you a change order. You're going to agree to them, whatever. What happens when the builder doesn't send over those change orders? The buyer goes, they pick out selections, they're way over budget. What happens when they don't? And then next thing you know, we're approaching closing and they're $200,000 over budget. I mean, it's the same concept really for a buyer's agent, right? You think that you're not paying anyone, and then you write an offer and the seller doesn't want to compensate the buyer's agent. That's their choice, right? In this scenario. And it always should be their choice. So then all of a sudden, as a buyer's agent, you're telling your buyer, well, you have to pay me because you didn't have the cover. I mean, that's the problem.
Yeah. And I mean, that just goes back to the beginning of all this. I mean, it's transparency. I mean, there's nothing wrong with transparency. And I really think, going back to one of our last podcasts, that we're in the era of the top agents are rising to the top right now due to, one, the market returning back to more normal, and also number two, this law change that it requires us all to be at the top of our games, which is a good thing for the general public.
And I don't understand, PT, help me, because I know, we talked about this briefly before we started talking about it on here. And I mean, I heard the buzzes about it, but like, what's the basis for the thought process and why they're considering overturning it, or it may be overturned? I don't understand.
Well, from my perspective and what I've read is that people, you have the group of people that aren't happy with the National Association of Realtors in general, right? They don't provide us any value, blah, 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 blah. But so it's that finite group of people that, one, don't want to change with the times and improve their business, improve the industry. And it's laziness. It's the people that don't want to be a professional, right? Be a business owner. And that is just what it seems like it's coming from.
Well, then they probably shouldn't be part of NAR, because I mean, if you don't want to be a realtor, then you're not, or you know what I mean? You're lazy and you're not being professional. You're probably not a realtor, because you're not adhering to those standards that are required. So, I mean, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. I mean, that's a totally different topic, but yeah, I mean, it always kind of blows my mind how you have those agents out there like that, and a lot of them always say, well, we've always done it this way. Well, we used to also get around by horse and buggy, and now guess what? We have cars that get us around. The world evolves.
Well, and how embarrassing, by the way, there's a couple agents in our marketplace that literally, in negotiating, they had a buyer that wrote offers on one of our listings in the last year or since this settlement, the law settlement happened and the law was put into place. But they've written offers on our properties, and we've literally had, I text messages that we could screenshot where literally they've said, if like the buyer or the seller doesn't want to offer compensation, or the seller doesn't want to pay what they're requesting for compensation, and they've countered it, literally the agents in some of these scenarios. I mean, I remember the one where they said to Brad, it's not real difficult. You tell your seller this is what they need to pay a buyer's agent, because that's what our market pays buyer's agents. Yeah. Well,
that's
no, it doesn't.
No, it's not the way that works. No, and that's the whole premise of all this,
right? And that's what's going on with this whole scenario. I mean, and Howard, I can't imagine being the buyer and reading that from your agent to another agent, and knowing that that's probably why the deal blew up, right? Like, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen, right? Oh, yeah. If you don't sit down with your buyer, have a buyer's consult, explain to them what you do and how you get paid, and if in fact the seller doesn't want to compensate me, which again, let's just be clear, everyone, the seller is compensating you, but the buyer is writing the check. So at the end of the day, the buyer is still paying for themselves, yes. Really, right? It's just coming out.
I always say that a lot of people, the buyer pays everybody, yeah, including the seller.
Yeah. I mean, if you're asking $400,000 for your house, right, and there's in that, the seller is paying their agent, whatever percent, and then they pay a buyer's agent in that amount too. You're the one writing the check. So you're the one paying that, all of it. So I'm just so against any of this changing, and I don't understand why it would. I mean, let's be transparent. The only reason why it would is people that don't want to be transparent, which correct. That's a big red flag in my opinion.
Well, my concern with this and my issue with this other perspective on, flipping the script or however, whatever people's perspective is, but why do we want to cause more turmoil? Like, we were all nervous about this going onto the news when it first happened, and people's perspective saying, I don't have to pay buyer's agents anymore. But in our market, it never got to that point, right? And now it's becoming a new normal. People are understanding. People are having conversations. They understand when you bring up, hey, we need to discuss this buyer's representation agreement. I would say 65% of the time they've either come across it, they understand what's going on and willing to have that conversation. Why would we just stir this all up again and create chaos?
Well, what's even better, which is the craziest thing, and this is not just a personal statistic, but in our office, in our local market, nationwide, the stats that are showing is that buyers agents on average are actually getting paid more than they used to. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because buyers agents control their income. They decide what it is that they're worth based upon the services that they are providing to their buyer. And then that's how they get compensated. Previously, as a buyer's agent, you could be a really crappy agent. You could be the best agent in the marketplace and work extra hard for your buyer. You're still getting paid by whatever the seller had predetermined with the listing agent that you deserve to get paid. Yeah. So this changes that. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question. Pretty much every top agent that I've talked to, they're all claiming that they're making more as a buyer's agent after the law change, that you have to prove your worth now, which, I mean, that's like any other career. I mean, you're just not automatically guaranteed that you're going to get a co-brokerage compensation.
Well, and we've said this before in other podcasts. I mean, it's no different than when you go to a listing appointment. If you tell your seller what your services are and what you charge for your services, and they don't want to pay it, then you don't have to take the listing. If you meet with a buyer and you tell them what your services are and this is what you charge for them, and they don't want to pay it, if a seller is not going to compensate you in the transaction, which does happen probably 90% of the time, then you don't have to take them on as a client. Wow, it's just crazy, isn't it?
Yes.
It's there's the ideology too of this is that, we, to that exact point, it's that we can choose who we want to work with. It allows us to determine if we're going to be a good relationship together. And not only, I always go back, it not only does it benefit the consumer, it benefits us as realtors. And it's concerning when people don't see that or not working through that. And I just don't understand where that process or thought process comes from.
Yeah, I really don't either. I mean, I really think a big part of it is that a lot of agents, they're desperate to get a actual paycheck, which, I mean, when you start, I mean, it's very difficult, but you have to always remember that you always want to do things the right way, and that'll take care of itself long term.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many analogies that are running through my head with this whole thing, but I mean, at the end of the day,
mine too, when you're holding this microphone up.
Stop. Why do you guys got to make fun of me with my microphone? It's just so more comfortable.
Oh, one question, and I don't want to change the topic, but what camera are we looking into here?
All of them.
All right, perfect.
Did you not know we're superstars now? We have like all these cameras. By all we mean two, guys.
It's a fire hazard. Anyway, the fire marshal
I have totally disrupted your thought process here, I'm sure.
No, I just when you just said what kind of agent or whatever what service would you pay for? Not like, okay, we all like to spa, right? Get a massage, right now I'm thinking about this because my back hurts. I heard it this weekend. When I go to get a massage, like I don't go in and the massage therapist isn't like, okay, I'm going to give you your massage and you're going to pay me afterwards or not. And maybe it'll be so much, or maybe it won't be so much depending on how you think I do. I mean, I do think that their tip is obviously, determined on that, but like their actual charge, it should be predefined. Correct. Like you're providing me a service. What are you charging me for the service? Can you imagine if it was just like a free for all?
And it's like anything else, right? If you don't want to pay it, then you don't go there. Right. And it's like, we just met with a buyer on Friday and we went over the contract, and just like watching her when PT was explaining it, she was like, yeah. Yep. I mean, this all makes sense, right? I mean, it's the way that you should properly run a business.
Well, and here's my favorite too, like going back to the massage analogy. So like if I go in and I say to the massage therapist, nope, I don't want to pay you, let's just say $250. I don't want to pay you $250 for the massage. Oh, okay. What do you want to pay me? Wait, so I get the same massage, whatever price I decide that I want to pay for it? Well, no.
You know what,
Okay,
though?
I mean,
we've worked with some clients. I'm pretty sure they might do that at the massage parlor. They may say, well, let's negotiate this, right?
Right.
But it is true. Okay, so I guess I'll only rub your back for $100. I don't rub your legs or your shoulders. And I mean, I guess if you're an agent that is successful at, I guess, piecemealing what it is that you would provide for a buyer. We don't train that way. We don't know how to run our business that way. But I mean, I guess if you just want them to open the door and type up the contract for you, I mean, I don't know. I guess you could do that for less. I don't know.
I just, here's the whole.
But then why even hire an agent?
Like, we went over to going back to this whole law change and all the rest of this. I really think people are asking the question more on the listing appointment that, hey, do you have different menus of services? And we worked with a builder by the name of Tim Dolan, and he was big into quality. I don't think he even knows how to build a home that's not high quality, right?
Well, then it's not, because if he did, it wouldn't be one of his homes, because he has signature things that he puts in his home.
Correct. And it's
he's retired now.
Same thing with us is I don't even know how to do like a discount brokerage package that I would feel like I'm not doing my job, which just a very strange deal. But we've had that question more now than we ever have in the past, that, are there like any other packages, this and that? Like, no, I mean, I wouldn't even know what to take out.
We don't offer them. And I mean,
we don't. Yeah.
If you want a full service broker, then yeah.
And here's the issue with that too, is that it's either, for me, it's all or nothing. Like, I don't feel like there's an in between. Like, there's things and services that you should provide, full grow customer service and so forth. And I can't see someone saying, you know what, I'm going to take that out. I'm not going to respond to you for 24 hours. Just the ideology of what could be potentially built into a discount brokerage. It just doesn't feel like that even makes sense.
Well, I just saw this actually on a reel, and it's true because we've actually used the same, verbiage verbatim, pretty much. Like, the lady was.
Is it verbiage or verbiage?
Oh my Lord. She was talking to a seller client on the phone, and the seller client said, well, XYZ broker is going to do it for half of that. And she's like, oh, okay, great. So they're going to do it for half of what I charge, huh? Yep. Okay. So what services are they not going to provide at that? Oh, well, I'm not sure. I think they're doing it all. Oh, so they're going to charge half of what I charge, and they're going to do everything for you. Well, I mean, I guess I didn't really ask exactly what they're going to do, but they told me that it would be half of what you charge. Okay, well, then if you didn't ask, so basically you're just worried about the number, not what it is you're getting in the number, which then that's a whole nother conversation.
Andrea, that's a lot of words there. Remember what my dad's friend in Rockford always said when they said, well, so-and-so.
Hey, will you do it for less?
I will not.
I just can't.
No, but what would he always say?
So-and-so is going to do it for X.
As very well they should.
Oh, goodness. Well, yeah, this topic, it's kind of just being a little bit brought back into the news. In my opinion, stability is the best thing, not only, to grow our business as realtors, but also for consumers. And I like the trend that, this is taking us. There's always kind of been this misconception about realtors and the way that they run businesses and so forth. But this, I feel like, has a chance to tie together and maybe clear up, just the name of a realtor in general. Right. So my hope is that, we continue forward, get this settled officially, and we just move on.
I think that'd be great. I mean, just for the realtors and also the general public. Now, I will say, going back to this MLS sheet thing, when we used to always advertise in there what we would pay the co-brokerage compensation, our area is probably different. I have no idea, because those were all wildly different. So it was one of those, but once this law change happened, I was like, I like the new way better.
But also, do you remember, like, we never really paid attention to that? No. I mean, there was a lot of times we wouldn't even know, like, in going back to because we were taking care of our buyer. And I mean, it's not like we have a choice what the seller was going to provide us. If that's the house our buyer wanted, then that's the house our buyer wanted, right? And so we would figure it out. But the crazy thing is, I remember just like we'd be writing an offer going, oh, what is the compensation on this? We don't even know, right? And then there were agents that literally, we actually had an agent when I remember when I first was pretty new in the business with you, Brad, and he had printed out like 10 of them, and he had 2 of them at the bottom, and we're like, oh, why do you, those 2 look nice? Yeah, but they're offering the lowest amount of compensation, so I'm just gonna probably not show them to my client. Okay, well, that's wrong, because that's not what your client hired you to do, going back to transparency in this new ruling. And number 2, now in today's world, that can still exist. The seller can still offer less, but it's the buyer's decision as to whether they want to see that home, because they know they're going to have to make up the difference for their buyer's agent if that's what they've agreed to pay them. So
and all this comes down to, you should always have your client's best interest.
Yes.
Always.
I mean, just imagine, I was thinking about this as we were talking about this. So like, you have to have a surgery done, right? You don't get to see all the costs up front. I wish you did, but you don't, because really they're not negotiable. I mean, and not that listing agent commission and buyer's agent commission isn't negotiable. It sure is. You can have that conversation with your agent. It doesn't mean your agent is going to negotiate with you. They just may choose not to take you on as a client. And that would be the same as a doctor, right? I mean, if you have a surgeon and these are their costs, and you say, okay, well, I want you to perform this heart surgery, but I really want to pay it for less. Well, they're just probably not going to do the surgery.
Like, what are you going to do less for? Like, am I not going to tie? I'm not going to put the stitches back in you, or
sorry, you get less anesthesia.
Correct. Yes. You have a time frame on when this has to get done. Oh goodness. Well, I'm sure this will come back up at some point, and we'll hopefully reconvene on what is finally decided in the settlement and so forth, and we'll go from there.
Well, in the meantime, if you're a buyer's agent, I suggest you perfect your buyer's agent consultation and your value proposition for your buyer, and you decide what it is that you think you're worth and what it is that you should charge. If you are in a brokerage or a team or an environment where you have no clue what we're talking about right now, and that's confusing, then I suggest you reach out, because we would be happy to help and share some of our tricks of the trade and things that we think work and what are important to make sure you're taking care of your buyer clients.
I agree. And my biggest piece of advice would be, as a real estate agent, is to
stop being weird.
No, well, that's of course number one, right? But my biggest deal is to be confident, and the way that you gain that is that you're a hard worker and you know that you're worth it.
There we go. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.